Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Edens, a finance coach, author, and wealth mindset researcher. Today, we're talking about how to set up a simple budget in Excel. I've done a whole screen record of walking you through everything from start to finish, with just starting with a brand new Excel template and then working your way through to the point where you have a budget that you can recreate, not just for the month you're working on, but for every single month throughout the year. So you basically build yourself a 12-month budget. This is the actual budget template that I have been using for a number of years, and it was inspired, of course, by this book, which is my favorite book on budgeting so far, called The Budget Kit by Judy Lawrence. I'll link to it in the description so that you can pick up a copy of it yourself if you want to. But it's very much based on a lot of the way that she does her kind of cash flow principles, if you will, rather than just like having something that's rigidly sets you into having to save a certain percentage or spend a certain percentage on your home or a certain percentage towards your retirement savings and keep you sort of in this rigid percentage-based setup. She is more all about helping you come up with policies and systems that will help you build a budget that flexes with your lifestyle. And it's definitely worked for me throughout the last 5 or 6, or really it's been closer to 7 or 8 years that I've been using this method. And it's worked as we've been renting, it's worked through moves, it's worked through becoming homeowners, getting out of debt, all of kinds of different life changes and milestones that way for myself and my husband. And so this is just a walkthrough that I've been wanting to do for a while. If you have questions or anything's not clear, then please let me know in the comments. If you have follow-up questions, and I'm very happy to answer those there. And we'll just walk everything through, and then I'll come back at the end and we'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. But this is the screen share where we'll just walk through how to set it up. And if you've never used Excel before, fear not, because it can seem a little bit technical initially, and I'm not an Excel expert by any means. And so this is just a very beginner-friendly budgeting in Excel kind of video. And there's lots of videos on YouTube about how to use Excel that are far better than the little tutorial that I do about how to set up a spreadsheet. So you can always consult that as well if you want some more training and tutoring on how to use Excel itself. But it's great for tracking spending and expenses. I really love it that way. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial.
All right, so welcome to my tutorial on how to set up your own budget in Excel. And this is the template that I use. It's super simple, very basic, but what I've found is that it typically works best to, do something simple, do something straightforward, and this is very customizable too. So I'm going to show you how to set it all up, and then you can customize it however you want to. So here's the title, monthly budget worksheet, and then you can customize it for whatever month you want. So I've got it set for August of 23. You can change it to September. So you can just set it for whatever month you want to. And then if you go down to the bottom where you see the tabs there, you can create additional tabs, and that will let you set up a budget for each month. And that way you can have basically a 12-month template. This is how, if you want to make a copy of this current one that you're looking at, you can just create a copy, move to end, hit OK, and then that will duplicate exactly what you're looking at through month to month. And then you can just have like a blank one that you're using as your template, and that will get you all sorted that way. So that's kind of how you can set up an easy 12-month budget. So now what we're going to do is walk through what these different categories mean and what they're all for. So up here I've got savings rate. This is just an area where you can track the percentage that you're saving of your income, and that's nice to see kind of if you're staying on track with generally the percentage of savings. This is your cash net worth, so whatever you have in the bank in cash. And I just like to track this from month to month because it helps you see if you're going in the right direction or not. You can also track cash in your portfolio that's not invested if you're an investor. And then the next one is portfolio value. So if you're an investor, then that's where you would look up your brokerage accounts and check and see what your portfolio is valued at each month. And again, this is just a way to see kind of how you're building your wealth over time. So I like to track it monthly so that I have a way to go back and look and see how I'm doing and kind of have a little report card every month. And then this is home value. So if you're a homeowner, you can look at Zillow and look your home up, and it'll give you like a Zestimate of what your value is and any other assets that you have in those blanks. And then your total net worth, you just add all that up. And so that's where we get started that way, kind of with being able to see how you're doing. Then if you're carrying any credit card balances, you put them right there. And then you want to put in however much you have left on your mortgage. It's always a good thing to go through and log into your bank account and look at your mortgage every single month. Make sure that your payment processed correctly and that everything's looking good there. I would highly recommend that you do that every single month. Sometimes mortgage companies will sell your mortgage from one bank to another, and so you definitely want to check and make sure that they still even have your mortgage, because some of them are better than others at letting you know. Then we've got our income source here. So I'm just using a sample of a family of 2 that they get paid bi-monthly. So you've got paycheck 1, paycheck 2. And your situation might be different than this, but just as a sample. And then if you've got other income coming in, so let's say you've got the one partner who's working full-time and a partner who's working part-time. And then there's space for notes. So this is where I like to just jot down, any kind of notes about money in, money out. If we got had anything I wanted to just, make a note to self on, that's the place to do it. And then I have my budget set up, so my spreadsheet set up so that it will add columns, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. And if I'm not a Excel expert by any means, so if this isn't making sense in terms of like how to add Excel columns, then just look up some other tutorials on YouTube about Excel. So let's say that one spouse is making $8,000 a month, so $4,000 every 2 weeks, and then the other spouse, let's say they're working part-time and bring in $2,000, just for easy round numbers. So they've got a total income of $10,000 a month. And then there's that space for additional income. And yes, I think actually, yeah, here we can take out this other $2,000 on the other income. Let's delete that. Okay, and then the columns will add down at the bottom, which I will show you how that works. So it'll be under total income, and I must have the wrong columns adding. So let's go back here and look. Okay, so if you look here, there we go. It depends on which little unit you have the Excel math magic going on, where it'll add the columns, but there you go. So there's their income, and I didn't have that one adding. That's the thing with Excel sheets, is you want to make sure that everything is tallying up correctly, because it can do math, but only if you tell it which columns to add. So I'm going to go in and fix that. So this is the way you do the little calculations. You go equal sum. Let's go back and look at this. I haven't had to add one of these in for a while. There we go. So we're going to do equal sum, and then of all 3 items there. So I'm just going to add in that box for the extra income, and then plug that number of 2,000 back in there, and then we should have a nice $10,000 total income. There we go. Once you learn how to do the math magic in Excel and get the columns to add up right, it's really easy because you don't have to do this again. you just copy the same template over and over, and you don't have to enter those in every single time. So that's the only time consuming thing about this, is just getting it set up initially. Once you have it set up, it's a piece of cake and you don't have to think about it again. So all right, so then I have it set up with my first block is all about your kind of fixed expenses, not fixed, but your bills. So that's going to be the first block here. So you've got all your kind of bills and expenses. You've got your amount. I like to write down what the bill actually was and then the date that I paid it, because that helps me see on, bills that go up and down like water or gas or electric from month to month. That'll help me see. So let's say these people have a mortgage of $2,000 a month, and let's say they paid it on the 3rd, and that's obviously going to like auto pay, but you can do the same thing. And then you'll just walk through. I'm going to put in sample numbers just to kind of show you how you would one way to allocate a income of $10,000. This one is a little bit off on a couple of the items with the amounts. They're not particularly realistic, but we'll just use it for sake of argument here. And making sure all of everything totals up. So this is good because then you can see down at the bottom there what your total is just for your bills, and put the Excel formula in to add whatever columns you want it to add. It will do it for you, so you don't have to do math at all. Once you have an Excel spreadsheet, it does everything for you. You just have to put the numbers in. So we'll make sure it's adding up the columns that we want it to. And then that way you can see how much your bills are running, because what that will let you do then, the way I have it set up is I have a checking account that's just specifically called rent and bills. And then every time we get paid, we're paid bi-monthly. I just pop in however much I have budgeted out for bills. So I know roughly what my bills are running every month. And so I just put everything for that into my rent and bills account, and then all my bills just automatically draft out of that account, or I'll pay them out of that account. And then that just means that you never have to worry again if you're going to have enough money to pay your bills, because it's already all taken care of right for you. So you just put your money in and you're set. So we're going to go through and just do some sample numbers. So these are monthly bills. So let's say we've got HOA dues of 100, electric 200, propane, let's say they've got gas too. Let's say you have bi-monthly trash service. This is the nice thing about kind of budgeting out for all of your bills ahead of time, is if you just kind of put the same amount in bi-monthly, then it'll build a little bit of padding in. So let's say they've got a bi-monthly trash bill of $30. Say water's 100, home security's 80. I had trash in there twice. Let's pull that out. Then you can always delete columns if you need to, so that's another benefit there. This Excel is completely customizable. Once you get to know how to use it, you will love it. Cell phones, say 200. Home and auto insurance, always important to have, 250. Life insurance premiums, those often will bill not every single month, so let's say quarterly on those. And let's say health insurance premiums, these are probably not particularly accurate, but just for a sample number, because your situation is going to be different. But for the sample family, we'll plug in a representative health insurance premium number. This is separate from your health savings account. This is just your insurance premiums. So we'll say 800, and then credit monitoring services, if you have those. Lawn maintenance, if you've got a company mowing your lawn, and then obviously charity and giving. So I put all of these topics into rent and bills, if you think about it that way, because I have charities I donate to every single month on auto pay, so I just think of them as a bill. It works really well. So we'll plug in a number there. So then you'll see down at the bottom, it's starting to total up for what all of your bills are, your housing expenses, those kind of things. And so then what you can do is just once you've got those totaled up, let's make sure we got everything put in correctly here. Okay, so that's the set expenses, and then these are the more variable ones. So we've got all these different other categories that are going to be more variable expenses that still have to happen, obviously, but they're going to be a little bit more variation in how much they cost. So let's just say for this family, groceries are running them $1,000 a month. Gas and car wash is running $150. And then I've got categories for household goods and then like miscellaneous, because it's always good to have a miscellaneous budget category. Budgeting for pets, like for pet food, vet visits, that kind of thing. Obviously, your childcare bills. Now, this one, I didn't put the best number in for this because I did some research on this after I did the screen share filming session. And apparently, right now, childcare costs are just through the roof. So the number I have in here isn't necessarily going to be representative for what you'd be paying, but it can be, upwards of say $1,500 a month per child, depending on how much childcare you're paying for every single month. So ignore that number because that's probably not accurate. And then fund money and discretionary spending for yourself and your spouse. And you can see how everything is totaling up here so we can see how much we're allocating out and how much is left. And then these are funds that I really love. Health savings is obviously like your health savings account. Reserve savings is for those expenses that you know you're going to have. You just don't know when they're going to come up, like, car maintenance and stuff like that. Home maintenance is good if you're a homeowner to always have a home maintenance fund you're putting money into. And then we've got those totals. And then these are for kind of longer term savings. So the other categories were more kind of midterm savings goals. These are longer with emergency savings. So you can have 6 months of living expenses, retirement fund, and then a college fund for your children if you're saving for college. So there we go. So we've allocated out 10,000 even, which is nice and tidy. And we've got kind of the longer range savings goals. We've got the mid-range savings, and then obviously, those accounts for your pets, for your kids, and then, like I said, those, your health insurance is probably going to be variable based on your situation for your deductibles or your premiums, and then also your copays. So, all right. Let's move on through this. So that's going to then have your entire $10,000 a month budget all allocated out, and everything's all tallied up there. And then you've got your room for your paychecks, your room for your other income that's coming in, and then this is super customizable, so you can adjust this for your situation. And then what I like to do is when I have, when we get paid, I will just figure out what's half of whatever should be going into the totals for those categories and just do the math that way. And then I'll just put, half of what I know I'm going to need for that coming month into the rent and bills account. So that goes into rent and bills. So that's $2,150 is half of $4,300. And so that way, the minute we get paid this, if this sample family, then $2,150 is going to go into rent and bills. And these numbers aren't set in stone. Obviously, you customize this based on your income and how many other expenses you have. And then same thing for when you get paid, you can go ahead and fund those accounts. And so for this sample, it's $250 per paycheck that's going to go into those. What I like to do too is when I've transferred the money from our paycheck to those savings accounts, which these ones are really more like I keep those as checking accounts because I know I'm going to spend the money at some point. These ones down here that we're looking at are savings accounts because they're longer term, but sometimes I will highlight the boxes in green once I've deposited the money so that I remember, oh yeah, like I did take the money out of direct deposit and we're all set with that. And I've funded my accounts for this 2 weeks. And if you get paid more on a variable spectrum, then just customize this for whatever works best for you. But being with the military, we are paid every 2 weeks, and so this is just the way we do it. And this total here, I was looking at this trying to figure out, I like inserted an extra row here. Here we go. Because that was just the total. And you can change the shading on things too. You can change the colors on the rows and the columns. And you can see the total there was just for kind of your longer term savings. And again, these savings percentages aren't ideal for the sample family, so they could probably stand to invest more in their long term future. But this is just the way I've got this set up for the demonstration. And then if you want to make notes to yourself, you can kind of do a note to self there towards the end on the side. Like, for example, if you have trash that comes every other month or trash that bills every other month, you can put your note in there that it was like a 0 that month because there was no trash bill. And then if you've got other notes you want to put to yourself, because sometimes it's good to just make notes to yourself on your budget since things change from month to month. The thing that I like about this setup is it's really flexible because I can customize it if we have a new, recurring expense or a new charity we're giving to or something like that. It's super easy to change things around. And then, like I said, when we have our paycheck come in, I'll just put whatever money that I have budgeted out into rent and bills. So in this case, with the demo, it's $21.50 every 2 weeks is going in for the sample family. So we've got everything set up here. And this way you're just making sure that, you can change the percentages on all these savings things. If you don't have children, then you don't have to have this college fund set up on here. But just to make sure that you have money for things you're going to spend on and things that long term you're going to need savings and investments for. That way you're all set with that kind of thing. And obviously your health savings fund is always really good to have set up as well. And really the reserve savings fund was what saved my life when I was learning how to budget, because it's just set aside for those unexpected little expenses that come up every single month. And that way you're not running credit card balances because you've got an account that's basically set up and you've planned ahead for those expenses that you're going to have at some point. You just don't know what they are. And so that way, if you have something like that happen, you just tap into your reserve savings account and it's not a big stressful deal. It doesn't go on the credit card. You have something set up already for that. So that was a really good thing that I learned how to do initially. And I hadn't been doing that before, but when I learned about the reserve savings account, it just was an absolute game changer in terms of not carrying debt anymore. Because a lot of times those unexpected expenses are the things that can cause us the most trouble when it comes to budgeting. And then obviously you really need to have an emergency savings account. You want to be saving and investing for retirement. Again, these percentages are not the best. So this sample family could be investing more towards their retirement, ideally. But some of the things that we're looking at here are reflecting the higher prices of housing that we're coping with right now, higher prices of food, higher prices of gas and groceries. So you can see how important it is to have a good, strong budget, that you know where your money's coming in and where your money's going out, because otherwise it's just so easy to not have a good feel for that and start running up credit card balances and get in mountains of credit card debt almost overnight. So very good tool for you here. And that way you never have to worry about how your bills are going to get paid, because it's just not stressful. And then those kind of more variable expenses you can play around with a little bit in terms of, your situation, if you have kids or not, how much you spend on food, how much you end up spending on gas, how much discretionary kind of fun money you get for yourself and your partner. Maybe if you have kids, you want to put their allowances in there as well. So you can totally customize this, make up totally different categories. This is your Excel spreadsheet that you're building here. All right. Yeah, I think that was everything that I wanted to go over on this. And just customize the categories based on your different things that you spend on and your lifestyle. And remember, you can add any columns that you want to add, but that way we've got this all done for this sample that they are right on budget every month as long as they just stick to those spending categories. So that's how to do an easy budget in Excel.
So there you have it. That's the scoop on how to set up your very first budget in Excel. And while there's many different budgeting resources and tools and apps and all kinds of things out there that are more complicated than this, personally, I've always found that simple, low-tech solutions are the ones that work best for me and my situation. Yours might be different. So if this doesn't work for you, move on to something that does. But I hope this tutorial was helpful for you and gives you confidence as you get started setting up a household budget for yourself or for yourself and your family. And definitely let me know in the comments as you have questions. And I will see you again soon in my next video.